Ranger's teeth clamped down on the rope, tearing at it like a man possessed, his desperate whines cutting through the frozen silence. Below him, a woman's body swung lifelessly from the gate, her boots brushing the snow, her face blue as winter sky. The German shepherd had found her first, had already been clawing at the wooden beam when Cole stumbled out of his truck, his $10 cabin nothing but a dark shadow behind the horror. The dog had seen death before, in deserts and ruined cities. But he'd never tried so hard to stop it. Not like this. Not with his own broken body failing him. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from tonight. And if this story grips your soul, hit subscribe and stay until the very end. Your support means everything to us. Cole Brennan woke to the sound of his own screaming. His right hand shot toward the phantom enemy fingers, clawing at frozen air, before the nerve damage reminded him, sharp electric cruel, that those fingers no longer obeyed. The pain ripped down his arm like a live current, and he bit down hard on his lip to keep from crying out again. Beside him, Ranger jerked awake. The German shepherd's deep brown eyes were wild with terror, his paws scrambling against the truck bed, as if running from an explosion only he could hear. His whimper cut through the darkness, high, desperate, broken. "Easy, boy." Cole's voice cracked. "Easy. We're okay. We're okay." But they weren't okay. They hadn't been okay in a very long time. Cole reached out with his left hand, his only reliable hand now, and pressed his palm against Ranger's heaving chest. The dog's heart pounded like machine gun fire beneath his touch. "I'm here," Cole whispered. "I'm right here." Ranger's eyes found his. Slowly, painfully, the terror began to fade. The dog pressed his graying muzzle into Cole's palm and exhaled a long, shuddering breath that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 nightmares. Cole understood that breath. He carried his own. The wind slammed against the truck, rattling the metal walls of the camper shell. Cold leaked through every crack and seam, turning their breath to white ghosts that disappeared into the darkness. Cole pulled his jacket tighter and looked at the dog pressed against his side. 8 years old now. 8 years of service. 3 combat deployments. 17 confirmed finds. 6 lives saved. And this was how it ended, shivering in the back of a rusted F-150 in some forgotten rest stop outside Timber Falls, Montana, 2 broken soldiers with nothing left but each other. Cole's phone buzzed. He almost didn't check it. What was the point? Another rejection email, another bill collector, another reminder that the country he'd bled for had no place for him anymore. But habit won over despair, and he pulled the cracked screen from his pocket. The notification glowed in the darkness. VA disability deposit. $731.86. $731.86. That was his life now. That was what 12 years of service, 3 bronze stars, and a body full of shrapnel was worth. He opened his banking app and stared at the balance, $47.23. Ranger needed his joint supplements, $89. His anxiety medication, $67. The prescription food that kept his failing digestive system functioning, $124. Cole did the math. He always did the math. And the math always said the same thing. Not enough. Never enough. His thumb scrolled without thinking past the job listings he couldn't qualify for, past the apartment rentals he couldn't afford, past the dating apps he'd deleted months ago because who would want a 36-year-old wreck with a trembling hand and a dog that screamed through the night? Then he stopped. Tax foreclosure auction. Mountain properties. He clicked. The listings loaded slowly, thumbnail images of abandoned dreams. A farmhouse with a collapsed roof, a mobile home swallowed by weeds, a hunting lodge gutted by fire. And then, a cabin. It sat alone at the end of a dead-end road surrounded by pine trees heavy with snow. The fence leaned at a tired angle. The windows were dark. The price read minimum bid, $10. No current bidders, $10. Cole laughed a harsh, broken sound that made Ranger's ears flatten. $10, he said to the dog. That's what we're worth now. A $10 cabin and a dream nobody else wants. Ranger tilted his head, brown eyes questioning. Cole stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over the button. What did he have to lose? Dignity gone. Pride shattered somewhere in a VA hospital hallway when he'd begged for help that never came. Hope. Hope had died in Mosul in the same explosion that killed 4 of his brothers and left him with a hand that couldn't hold a weapon and a mind that couldn't hold peace. He pressed the button. Bid submitted. Seconds passed. His phone buzzed. Congratulations. You are the winning bidder. Ranger's tail thumped once against the truck bed. Well, Cole said quietly, I guess we're homeowners now, Sung. The drive took 4 hours through roads that grew narrower and more treacherous with every mile. The storm had been building all day, and by the time Cole crossed into the valley, snow fell so thick his headlights barely cut 10 feet into the white darkness. Ranger sat rigid in the passenger seat, his eyes fixed on the windshield, his body trembling with an anxiety that had nothing to do with the cold. Almost there, buddy, Cole said. Almost there. But even as the words left his mouth, something cold settled in his gut. Something that had nothing to do with the weather. Instinct. 12 years in the teams had taught him to trust that feeling. The primitive warning that screamed danger before the conscious mind could identify the threat. The GPS announced destination ahead. Cole slowed the truck. Through the swirling snow, he could just make out the shape of a gate wooden posts with a crossbeam leaning like it had been kicked and never fixed. He killed the engine. Silence crashed down on them, heavy and complete. Not the peaceful silence of a winter night. This was different. This was the silence of an ambush site, the held breath quiet of a battlefield before the first shot. Ranger growled. Low. Deep. A sound Cole had only heard when the dog sensed genuine danger. D's, in Fallujah, hidden combatants in compound walls, the presence of death waiting to happen. What is it, boy? Ranger's growl cut off. He whimpered, his ears pressed flat against his skull. Cole grabbed the flashlight from the center console. His left hand was steady. His right hand tremored against his thigh, useless and mocking. He stepped out of the truck. The cold hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath, burning his lungs. Snow crunched beneath his boots as he walked toward the gate flashlight beam, cutting a pale yellow tunnel through the white curtain. The gate grew closer. 10 feet. 5 feet. Cole raised the flashlight. The beam found boots first. Worn leather dusted with snow dangling 6 inches above the ground. His heart stopped. The light traveled upward. Legs in dark uniform pants, a torn jacket, a badge bent half-ripped from the fabric. A face. A woman's face. Young, maybe late 20s. Chestnut hair matted to her cheeks with frost. Skin so pale it seemed to glow in the flashlight beam. Eyes closed. lips blue. A rope was cinched tight around her neck, tied to the crossbeam of the gate. Her hands were bound behind her back with plastic zip ties, the kind cops used. Her wrists were purple swollen, crusted with frozen blood. Cole's training took over before his horror could paralyze him. He dropped the flashlight and lunged forward, wrapping his left arm around her waist to lift her weight off the rope. She was light, terrifyingly light, and cold against his chest. "Ranger!" he shouted. "Here! Now!" The dog bounded through the snow, arriving at his side in seconds, whining high and frantic. Cole's right hand refused to cooperate. He fumbled for the knife in his pocket, nearly dropped it, caught it with his left hand instead. The blade sawed through the rope 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3, and the woman collapsed into his arms. He caught her. Barely. His shoulder screamed in protest, the old injury flaring hot and vicious, but he held on. He held on because letting go wasn't something Cole Brennan knew how to do. She wasn't breathing. No. Wait. A flutter against his cheek, faint as a dying whisper. A breath. A single, fragile breath. "Stay with me," he commanded. "Do you hear me? Stay with me." Her eyes didn't open. Her body hung limp in his arms, dead weight that was somehow still clinging to life. Cole looked toward the cabin. 30 yards away, dark, abandoned. It was shelter. It was the only chance she had. He started moving. Ranger ran ahead, barking once, sharp, urgent, before circling back to run beside them. The dog's limp was pronounced now, his bad hip struggling against the deep snow, but he refused to fall behind. Cole kicked the cabin door. Once. Twice. The wood splintered on the third kick, and the door swung inward with a shriek of rusted hinges. The air inside was stale, thick with dust, and something else. Something that smelled like secrets kept too long in the dark. He laid the woman on the floor and dropped to his knees beside her. In the dim light filtering through the dirty windows, he could see the damage more clearly now. Her face wasn't just pale, it was bruised. A purple crescent beneath her left eye. A split lip crusted with dried blood. Scrapes along her jaw like she'd been dragged across gravel. Someone had beaten her before they hung her. This wasn't a suicide. This was a murder interrupted. Cole ripped off his jacket and draped it over her. He placed his ear close to her mouth and counted. 1 breath. 2 breaths. Weak but present. He checked her pulse. Thready. Fading. "Don't you die on me," he said fiercely. "I didn't come all this way to watch you die." Ranger pressed himself against the woman's side, sharing his warmth. The dog's eyes never left her face, watching with an intensity Cole recognized the same look Ranger wore when guarding wounded soldiers refusing to leave their side even under fire. Minutes passed. Cole gathered what he could find: old blankets from a closet, a dusty coat hanging by the door, anything to add warmth. He started a fire in the ancient wood stove with shaking hands and desperate prayers. The flames caught. Heat began to crawl into the room. And then finally, she moved. Her eyes opened. Not slowly, not peacefully. They snapped open with the wild terror of prey waking to find the predator still standing over it. Her body jerked, hands straining against the zip ties Cole hadn't yet removed. "No!" she screamed. "No, please! Hey, hey!" Cole grabbed her shoulders, holding her down. "You're safe. Listen to me, you're safe." She didn't hear him. Her eyes were looking past him, seeing someone else. Somewhere else. Some moment of horror still playing behind her pupils. "Please don't," she begged. "I won't tell anyone. I swear I won't." "Look at me," Cole commanded. The SEAL voice, the voice that had cut through chaos in a dozen firefights. "Look at my face." Her eyes focused. Wild, terrified, but present. "I'm not going to hurt you," Cole said, softer now. "I found you at the gate. I cut you down. You're in the cabin. You're safe." She stared at him. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths that turned to steam in the cold air. "Who," she managed. "Who are you?" "My name is Cole Brennan. I'm a veteran. I just bought this cabin today." He almost laughed at the absurdity. "You're going to be okay. I promise." Her eyes moved past him, landing on Ranger. The dog hadn't moved from her side, his warm body pressed against her arm, his brown eyes watching her with gentle concern. Something in her face cracked. "Dog," she whispered. "There's a dog. His name is Ranger. He was military too. He won't hurt you." Tears spilled down her frozen cheeks. Her body began to shake, not from cold now, but from something deeper. "They tried to kill me," she said. "They hung me from that gate and left me to die." "Who?" Cole asked. "Who did this to you?" Her eyes found his, and in them he saw something that chilled him more than any winter wind. Fear. Absolute, soul-deep fear. "The sheriff," she whispered. "Sheriff Wade Thornton. He runs everything. He controls everyone." Her voice broke. "And now he's going to kill us both." Cole stared at her. "The sheriff." She nodded, tears streaming freely now. Her body shook so violently that Ranger whimpered and pressed closer, trying to absorb her trembling. "My name is Maya Hartwell, Deputy Maya Hartwell." She swallowed hard. "I transferred here 6 months ago. I thought it would be a quiet posting, somewhere to start over." "What happened?" Maya closed her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was hollow, distant, like she was reading a report about someone else's nightmare. 3 years ago, a deputy named Daniel Crane started asking questions, logging trucks coming through at night, missing persons reports that got buried, money flowing into the sheriff's office that couldn't be explained. Cole's gut tightened. He knew this kind of story. He'd seen it in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in every corrupt hellhole where power grew unchecked and people disappeared in the night. What did Daniel find? Trafficking. The word fell from her lips like a stone. Human trafficking. Thornton's been running girls through the logging routes for years, hidden in cargo, moved at night, sold to the highest bidder. Cole felt something cold and ancient stir in his chest, something he'd buried after Mosul, something that tasted like righteous rage. And Daniel, he tried to expose it, gathered evidence, contacted federal authorities. Maya's voice cracked. They found his car in the river 2 months later, empty. The official report said he was dirty, took bribes, got scared, ran. But you don't believe that. I found his files. Maya opened her eyes. Hidden in the evidence locker, misfiled under a cold case from 1987. Daniel documented everything. Names, dates, amounts, GPS coordinates of every drop point. "Let me guess," Cole said. "Someone found out you found it." Maya laughed, a broken, terrible sound. "I tried to be careful. I really did. I encrypted the files. I used burner phones. I contacted the FBI through back channels." She shook her head. "But Thornton has people everywhere. The dispatcher, the county clerk, even some of the feds. So they came for you." 3 of them. Beck. He's Thornton's enforcer, ex-military, no soul, and 2 deputies. They grabbed me after my shift. Beat me in the back of a cruiser. Her hand moved unconsciously to the bruises on her face. They were going to make it look like suicide. A troubled deputy who couldn't handle the isolation. Case closed. Cole looked at the cabin around them, the dust, the darkness, the forgotten corners. "Why here?" he asked. "Why this cabin?" Maya's eyes met his. "Because this is where Daniel Crane hid the original evidence. Everything he found, everything he documented, it's here. Somewhere in this cabin." Cole felt the floor shift beneath him. A $10 cabin. A dying woman. A conspiracy that had already killed at least one good person. And now, he was in the middle of it. "I should call 911, he said, reaching for his phone. "No." Maya's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't you understand? Thornton is 911 out here. You call for help, his people show up. And then we both disappear like Daniel did." Cole looked at his phone. One bar of service. Flickering. She was right. He knew she was right. In a corrupt system, the normal channels weren't channels, they were traps. "Okay," he said slowly. "Okay. We don't call local, but there has to be someone. I have a contact, FBI agent out of Helena. She's the one I was working with." Maya's voice strengthened slightly. "If we can get word to her, if we can get the evidence to her, Thornton goes down. Then that's what we do." Maya shook her head. "You don't understand what you're signing up for. Beck doesn't leave witnesses, and Thornton—" She stopped. Her face went pale. "They'll figure out you cut me down. They'll come here. They're probably already on their way." As if on cue, Ranger's head snapped toward the window. He growled, low and deep, the same growl he'd made at the gate. Cole moved to the window and peered through the dirty glass. In the distance, barely visible through the snow, he could see lights, headlights, moving slowly up the road. "How many deputies does Thornton have?" Cole asked. 12, but only 4 of them know the truth. The others are just blind, following orders. And Beck is a monster, former Blackwater contractor, discharged under classified circumstances. Maya's voice trembled. "He enjoys what he does. He's not just following orders, he's playing." The headlights grew closer. Cole's mind raced through options. Fight with a trembling hand and a crippled dog against armed men who knew the terrain, run. In a blizzard with a hypothermic victim who could barely stand. He looked at Maya. At Ranger. At the cabin that was supposed to be his salvation. "Is there a back door to this place?" "I don't know, I've never been inside." Cole moved quickly through the cabin, scanning for exits. 1 door front, 2 windows, both too small for a person. A back wall with a suspicious patch of newer wood. He pressed his hand against it. The wood flexed. "There's something behind here," he said. "Old door, maybe. Boarded up." "Can you get it open?" "I can get anything open." He grabbed a rusted fire poker from beside the stove and jammed it into the seam. The wood groaned, splintered, gave way. Behind it was a door. And behind the door was darkness, a root cellar maybe, or a crawl space. He couldn't tell. "Ranger," Cole called softly. "Check it out." The dog limped forward, sniffed at the opening, then looked back at Cole with an expression that seemed to say, "Clear, but I don't like it." "Good boy." Cole turned to Maya. "Can you move?" "I'll move if it kills me." He helped her stand. She swayed, gripping his arm, her legs barely supporting her weight. But her jaw was set, and her eyes were fierce. "Into the cellar," Cole said. "Both of you. I'll lead them away." "No." Maya's grip tightened. "I'm not letting another person die for me. No one's dying tonight. You don't know that." Cole looked at her, this woman he'd known for less than an hour, this stranger who'd already survived hell and was still fighting. "I'm a Navy SEAL," he said. "Or I was. And I spent 12 years learning how to do one thing: keep people alive in impossible situations." He pulled gently free of her grip. "This situation isn't impossible. Not yet." Maya stared at him. Something shifted in her eyes. Not trust, not yet, but the first fragile seed of it. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You don't know me. This isn't your fight." Cole thought of Mosul, of 4 coffins draped in flags, of nights spent wondering why he'd survived when better men hadn't. "Because I'm tired of running," he said quietly. "And because some fights choose you whether you want them or not." The headlights were closer now. 200 yards. Maybe less. "Into the cellar," Cole repeated. "Keep Ranger with you. Stay quiet. I'll handle this." Maya hesitated. Then she nodded, once turned, and lowered herself into the darkness. Ranger followed, but not before pressing his head against Cole's palm in a gesture that said, "Come back to me." Cole covered the opening with a dusty rug and stepped back into the main room. He had no weapon except the fire poker, no backup except a traumatized dog, no plan except the one forming in his head piece by desperate piece. Outside, the headlights stopped. Doors opened and closed. Boots crunched on snow. Voices low, confident, predatory. Cole took a breath, exhaled slowly, and prepared to meet the enemy. The knock on the door was almost polite. 3 sharp raps. A pause. Then a voice, smooth, practiced, dripping with false friendliness. "Hello, in there, Sheriff's Department, just checking on the new property owner." Cole's jaw tightened. He recognized the type. The voice of authority that expects obedience. The voice that's learned nobody questions a badge. He walked to the door and opened it. 2 men stood on the porch, both in deputy uniforms, both with hands resting casually on their holstered weapons. The one who'd knocked was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair and nervous eyes that didn't quite match his smile. The other was older, harder, with a face like weathered leather, and a gaze that missed nothing. "Evening, sir." The young one spoke first. "Sorry to bother you on a night like this. We had reports of a vehicle heading up this way, and wanted to make sure everything was okay." And Cole leaned against the doorframe, keeping his body between them and the interior of the cabin. "Appreciate the concern," he said. "Just got in a few hours ago. Bought this place at auction." "That right?" The older deputy's eyes scanned past Cole, searching the darkness behind him. "Brave man buying property sight unseen, especially out here. I like quiet. You'll get plenty of that." The deputy smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "What brings you to Timber Falls?" "Retirement." Cole held up his tremoring right hand. "Army had no use for me after this." "Army, huh? 12 years. Supply logistics mostly." The lie came easily. Never reveal military specialty to potential threats. Never let them know what you're capable of. The young deputy glanced at his partner, something passing between them. A question. A concern. "Well," the older one said, "welcome to the valley. You need anything?" "Sheriff Thornton's office is always available. We take care of our own out here." "Good to know." The deputy's eyes lingered on the cabin, on the fresh snow Cole had tracked inside, on the fire poker still clutched in his left hand. "Expecting trouble?" he asked. "Just being cautious. New place. Strange noises." Cole shrugged. "Old habits. I understand." The deputy touched the brim of his hat. "You have a good night, sir. Stay warm." They turned to leave. Cole watched them walk back to their cruiser, watched them climb inside, watched the vehicle sit there for a long moment, engine idling, exhaust rising in white clouds. Then finally, they pulled away. Cole didn't move until the taillights disappeared into the storm. Even then, he waited. Counted to 60. Counted again. Only when he was certain they were gone did he close the door and pull back the rug. "Clear," he said. "For now." Maya emerged from the cellar, First Ranger close behind. The dog's ears were still flat, his body still tense, but he pressed himself against Cole's leg as if to say, "You came back." "They'll be back," Maya said. Her voice was steady now, stronger than before. "That was just a probe. They're not sure what happened yet." "I know. When they figure out I'm alive, they'll come in force." "I know that too." Maya stared at him. "You're not scared?" Cole looked at his tremoring hand, at the dog with the damaged hip, at the woman with bruises blooming across her face. "I'm terrified," he said honestly. "But Fear and I are old friends. We work well together." Maya almost smiled. Almost. "There's something else you should know," she said. "About Daniel's evidence." "What about it? I wasn't just guessing about this cabin. Before he disappeared, Daniel sent me a message. One word, chimney." Cole looked at the old stone fireplace dominating the back wall. Cold. Dark. Full of ash and secrets. "You think he hid something inside?" "I think Daniel knew he was going to die, and I think he made sure the truth wouldn't die with him." Cole grabbed the flashlight and moved to the fireplace. He crouched down, shining the beam up into the flue. Stone walls. Soot. Darkness. His left hand probed the interior feeling for loose stones, hidden compartments, anything that didn't belong. Nothing. He stepped back, studying the fireplace from a different angle. Old stonework. Crumbling mortar. A pattern in the stones that seemed almost... His eyes stopped on a stone near the base. Slightly different color. Slightly different texture. He pulled out his knife and wedged it into the seam. The stone shifted. Behind it was a space. And in the space was a metal box. Cole pulled it out, brushing away years of dust and ash. The lock was rusted, but the box itself was solid. He looked at Maya. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what Daniel died for." Cole broke the lock with the fire poker. The lid creaked open. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Images of Sheriff Wade Thornton meeting with men in expensive suits. Images of young women, girls really being loaded into unmarked vans. Images of bank statements, wire transfers, GPS coordinates. And underneath all of it, a letter. Handwritten. Dated 3 years ago. "If you're reading this, I'm already dead. But the truth isn't. Everything Thornton has done is documented here. Names, dates, proof. Take it to Agent Patricia Cole, FBI, Helena office. She's the only one I trust. Don't let them win. Don't let those girls disappear. Daniel Crane." Maya's hands shook as she touched the letter. "He knew," she said. "He knew they would kill him, and he still fought. He was a hero. He was a deputy who believed in justice." Maya's voice cracked. "And they murdered him for it." Cole closed the box. "Then let's make sure he didn't die for nothing." The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, pushing snow through every crack. Inside, the fire crackled in the stove, casting dancing shadows across the walls. Maya sat wrapped in blankets, color slowly returning to her face. Ranger lay beside her, his head in her lap, his eyes finally peaceful. Cole sat opposite, cleaning the photographs with careful hands, organizing the evidence into piles. "How do we reach your FBI contact?" he asked. "I have a secure number, but we need cell service and out here. 1 bar, intermittent. Might be enough to send a message. Text, not call." Cole nodded. "What do you need to tell her? Location, situation. That I'm alive and have proof." Maya paused. "And that Thornton will burn this valley to the ground before he lets this evidence reach federal hands. Then we send it tonight, before they regroup." Maya reached for her phone, then stopped. "They took my phone," she said quietly. "When they grabbed me. They took everything." Cole pulled out his own phone. 1 bar. Flickering. "Use mine." She took it. Her fingers moved across the screen, typing a message to a number she'd memorized months ago. "It's Hartwell. Alive. Have Crane's evidence. Cabin on Old Mill Road. Need extraction ASAP. Thornton compromised. Beck active. 12 hours max before they find me." She hit send. The bar flickered. Held. The message went through. "Now what?" Cole asked. "Now we wait. And pray she gets here before they do." Cole looked at the window at the storm raging beyond the glass. "How long until morning?" 6 hours. Maybe 7. "And how long until Thornton figures out his deputies didn't find a body at that gate?" Maya's face went pale. "Not long enough." 3 miles away, in a warm office that smelled of cigars and corruption, Sheriff Wade Thornton listened to his phone. "What do you mean, no body?" The deputy's voice crackled through the speaker. "Gate was empty, sir. Rope was cut. Fresh footprints in the snow leading to the cabin." Thornton's hand tightened around the phone. "Who bought that property?" "Some veteran. Says he just got in tonight. Name's Brennan." Silence. Then, "Get Beck. Tell him we have a problem." "Yes, sir." Thornton hung up. He stared at the photographs on his desk, photos of a younger him, shaking hands with senators, smiling at fundraisers, accepting awards from grateful citizens. 30 years he'd built this. 30 years of power money silence. One woman and one stranger weren't going to tear it down. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Beck, I need you to clean up a mess." In the cabin, Ranger lifted his head. His ears twitched. His body tensed. And deep in his chest, that growl began again. Cole watched the dog. Watched his eyes fix on the window. Watched his muscles coil with the instincts of a warrior who'd survived 100 battles. "They're coming," Maya whispered. Cole stood, grabbed the fire poker. "Then let's be ready." Ranger's growl deepened into something primal. Cole moved without thinking, extinguishing the oil lamp with one swift motion. Darkness swallowed the cabin, broken only by the faint orange glow from the wood stove. "How many?" Maya whispered. "Don't know yet." Cole pressed himself against the wall beside the window, peering through a crack in the frost-covered glass. "Stay low. Stay quiet." Headlights cut through the storm. Not one vehicle this time. 2. Moving slow, deliberate, like predators circling wounded prey. Maya crawled toward the cellar entrance, dragging the metal box with Daniel's evidence. Her body screamed with every movement, but she'd learned something in the past 6 months. Pain was temporary, death was permanent. "Cole," she hissed. "If this goes bad, it won't. If it does, promise me you'll get that box to Agent Cole. Promise me Daniel didn't die for nothing." Cole turned from the window. Even in the darkness, she could see the steel in his eyes. "Nobody's dying tonight except the people who deserve it." The vehicles stopped. Doors opened. Voices carried through the wind, low, confident, professional. Then a sound that made Cole's blood freeze. Dogs barking. Tracking dogs. "They brought canines," he said. Maya's face went white. "Beck's unit. He uses them for hunting." "Hunting what? People." Ranger heard the other dogs and responded not with fear, but with something older. A challenge. His hackles rose, and for a moment Cole saw the warrior his partner used to be before the explosions, and the nightmares broke him. "Easy boy," Cole murmured. "Not yet." The voices outside grew clearer. "Cabin's dark, no movement. Could be sleeping. Or waiting." This voice was different. Calm. Cold. Empty of anything human. "Spread out. Cover the back. Nobody leaves." Beck. Cole had known men like him in the teams. Men who wore the uniform but served only themselves. Men who'd learned to kill and discovered they enjoyed it. "Back door," Cole whispered to Maya. "The cellar connects to the root cellar, right?" "I don't know. I couldn't see anything down there." "Then we find out." Cole grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the hidden entrance. "Move, now." They dropped into the darkness. The cellar was cramped, cold, thick with the smell of earth and rotting wood. Cole's flashlight revealed dirt walls, ancient shelving, and at the far end a wooden hatch half buried under decades of debris. "There," Maya breathed. Cole handed her the flashlight and attacked the debris with his good hand, throwing aside broken crates and rusted tools. His shoulder screamed. His right hand tremored uselessly against his side. Above them, the cabin door exploded inward. "Clear the main room. Check the corners." Boots thundered across the floor. Flashlight beams slashed through the darkness. Cole's fingers found the hatch handle. He pulled. The wood groaned, but held. "It's jammed," he hissed. "Let me try." Maya grabbed the handle beside him. Together they pulled. "Basement access," someone shouted above. "They're below." The hatch burst open. Cold air rushed up from below, not the stale cold of the cellar, but fresh cold. Outside cold. "Go," Cole shoved Maya through the opening. "Ranger, follow." The dog hesitated, looking back toward the sounds of the men, above every instinct screaming to fight. Then he turned and dropped through the hatch after Maya. Cole followed, pulling the hatch closed behind him, just as flashlight beams pierced the cellar darkness. They emerged into a drainage culvert half buried in snow. The storm raged around them, wind cutting like razors, visibility reduced to nothing. "Which way?" Maya gasped. Cole oriented himself. The vehicles were to the east. The road led back to town, to Thornton's territory. "West," he decided. "Into the forest. We need distance." They ran. Or tried to. Maya's legs buckled after 20 feet, her battered body finally reaching its limits. Cole caught her before she fell. "I can't," she whispered. "Cole, I can't." "Yes, you can." He pulled her arm over his shoulder, taking her weight. "One step at a time. That's all. Just one step." Behind them, shouts erupted. "They're outside, release the dogs," barking, snarling, the sound of animals bred for violence being unleashed. "Oh God," Maya breathed. Ranger positioned himself between them and the sounds, his body. Low, his teeth bared. Old, injured, terrified, but still standing. "We're not going to outrun them," Cole said. "We need to change the game." "How?" Cole's mind raced through options. In the teams, they called it tactical improvisation, making weapons from nothing, turning disadvantages into advantages. His eyes landed on a snow-covered shape to their left. A structure. Abandoned. "There," he said. "Move." It was a grain mill, ancient and forgotten. Its wooden walls silvered by decades of weather. The door hung open, revealing darkness within. "Inside, now." They stumbled through the entrance. Cole eased Maya to the ground and immediately began searching the space with his flashlight. Old machinery, rusted gears, chains hanging from the ceiling, and there a narrow staircase leading to a second level. "Can you climb? Do I have a choice?" "No." Maya pulled herself up the stairs, one agonizing step at a time. Ranger followed his damaged hip, making each movement a small torture. Cole stayed below, working fast. He found a length of chain and strung it across the doorway at ankle height. He located a pile of rusted grain shovels and positioned them beneath a precarious shelf. He identified the load-bearing beam near the entrance and noted how the wood had rotted at its base. 12 years of combat engineering reduced to a desperate ambush in a forgotten mill. It would have to be enough. He climbed the stairs and found Maya huddled in a corner, Ranger pressed against her side. Both of them were shaking from cold, from fear, from the weight of everything that had led to this moment. "They'll find us," Maya said. The dogs will find the mill. What happens after that is up to us." "You have a plan, half of one." "And the other half?" Cole almost smiled. "I'm making it up as I go." The barking grew louder, closer. Maya reached into her jacket and pulled out a small leather wallet. Inside was a photograph, worn, creased, obviously treasured. "My sister," she said quietly. "Elena. She was 16 when they took her." Cole looked at the image. A young girl with Maya's eyes and a smile that hadn't yet learned to be afraid. "That's why you became a cop. That's why I do everything." Maya's voice cracked. "I couldn't save her. I looked for years, followed every lead, chased every rumor." She touched the photograph gently. "She's gone. I know that now, but maybe I can save someone else's sister. Maybe that's enough." Cole thought of his own ghosts. 4 men in 4 coffins, 4 families who would never be whole again. "It has to be enough," he said. "Otherwise, what's the point?" The barking was right outside now. Cole moved to the window and peered down. 3 figures approached through the snow, 2 deputies with flashlights, and a third man walking slightly behind. Beck. Even at a distance, Cole could sense what he was. The way he moved, economical, precise, predatory. The way his head turned, constantly scanning, constantly calculating. The way his hands stayed loose and ready like a fighter waiting for the bell. "The dogs have something," one deputy shouted. "Hold position," Beck commanded. "Let them work." 2 German shepherds circled the mill noses to the ground. Ranger watched them from above, a low whine building in his throat. "Quiet, boy," Cole whispered. "Not yet." The dogs converged on the entrance. "They're inside," a deputy said. "Then let's say hello." Beck drew his weapon. "Remember, Thornton wants the woman alive if possible. The man is collateral." Cole's jaw tightened. Collateral. That's what they called him now. A problem to be eliminated. The deputies moved toward the door. Beck hung back, watching that cold smile playing at his lips. The first deputy crossed the threshold. His foot caught the chain. He stumbled forward, arms pinwheeling, flashlight beam spinning wildly. His body struck the precarious shelf, and the grain shovels cascaded down with a deafening crash. "Contact!" The second deputy shouted, raising his weapon. Cole was already moving. He came down the stairs like a controlled avalanche, using gravity and momentum to compensate for his damaged arm. The fire poker caught the second deputy across the wrist, sending his gun spinning into the darkness. The deputy screamed and swung blindly. Cole ducked under the punch and drove the poker into the man's knee. Bone cracked. The deputy went down. The first deputy was scrambling to his feet, reaching for his weapon. Ranger hit him from the side. 80 pounds of military-trained fury teeth finding the soft flesh of the forearm jaws, clamping down with the force of absolute commitment. The deputy screamed a high animal sound of pure terror. "Ranger, hold," Cole commanded. The dog held, growling, waiting. Cole turned toward the door. Beck stood framed in the entrance, weapon raised, that smile finally reaching his eyes. "Navy SEAL," he said. "I can always tell. The way you move, the way you fight." He tilted his head slightly. "Thought I recognized the name. Brennan. You were at Mosul, weren't you? The ambush that went wrong?" Cole's blood ran cold. "I read the after-action reports," Beck continued. "Fascinating stuff. 4 men dead because their team leader hesitated at the critical moment." His smile widened. "That was you, wasn't it? The one who froze. Shut up. Does it keep you awake at night, knowing they'd still be alive if you'd just—" Cole lunged. Beck sidestepped easily, bringing his elbow down on Cole's damaged shoulder. The pain was blinding, absolute, a white-hot explosion that dropped Cole to his knees. "Predictable," Beck said. "Emotional. That's why you failed then, and that's why you'll fail now." He pressed the gun to Cole's forehead. "Where's the evidence?" Cole spat blood. "Go to hell." "Eventually, but not tonight." Beck's finger tightened on the trigger. "Last chance. Where is it?" A shot rang out. Beck stumbled backward, clutching his shoulder. His gun clattered to the floor. Maya stood at the top of the stairs, a deputy's weapon in her shaking hands, her face a mask of fury and terror. "Get away from him," she said. Beck looked at her, at the blood spreading across his jacket, at the gun in her trembling grip, and laughed. "Little deputy found her spine." He straightened, seemingly unbothered by the wound. "But you won't shoot again. You're not a killer. I can see it in your eyes. You don't know anything about me. I know you've been hunting your sister for 8 years. I know you transferred here hoping to find answers." Beck's smile turned cruel. "I know exactly what happened to Elena." Maya's hands shook harder. "What? She was one of the first. Thornton was still building his network back then. Elena was, let's call her a learning experience." Beck took a step toward the stairs. "Pretty girl. Fought hard. Didn't last long." "You're lying." "Am I?" Another step. "Thornton keeps records, photographs, souvenirs. I've seen them." Another step. "Would you like to know how she died? I could describe it. Every detail." Maya's finger trembled on the trigger. "Don't listen to him," Cole shouted. "He's trying to get in your head." "Oh, I'm already in her head." Beck was almost to the stairs now. "I've been there since the day she found Daniel's files. Every nightmare she's had, every time she's woken up screaming, that's all me. That's all." Maya fired. The shot went wide, punching through the wall beside Beck's head. "Missed," he said. "Just like I—" Cole hit him from behind. All 190 pounds of desperate fury driving Beck forward into the staircase. They crashed through the rotting wood, tumbling across the floor in a tangle of limbs and violence. Beck was faster, stronger, trained for exactly this kind of combat. But Cole had something Beck didn't. He had nothing left to lose. They fought like animals, no technique, no strategy, just the raw, primal need to survive. Cole took hits that would have dropped a normal man. Beck absorbed punishment that should have been fatal. But Cole's damaged hand betrayed him. Beck caught his wrist and twisted. The nerve damage amplified the pain tenfold, turning Cole's vision white, stealing the strength from his limbs. "You should have stayed dead in Mosul," Beck hissed. "Would have been cleaner." He pulled a knife from his boot. Cole saw it coming. Couldn't stop it. Couldn't move. The blade descended. And stopped. Ranger's jaws closed around Beck's forearm, severing tendons, grinding bone. The knife fell. Beck screamed a sound Cole had never heard from a man like him. "Good boy," Cole gasped. "Good boy." He grabbed Beck's head with both hands and slammed it into the floor. Once. Twice. 3 times. Beck went limp. Cole lay there gasping, every inch of his body screaming with pain. Ranger released Beck's arm and limped to Cole's side, pressing his bloody muzzle against his partner's face. "I know, buddy," Cole whispered. "I know." Maya descended the stairs slowly, the gun still clutched in her white-knuckled grip. "Is he dead?" Cole checked Beck's pulse. Faint, but present. "Unconscious. Won't stay that way long." "Then we need to move." She was right. The shots would have been heard. More men would be coming. Cole forced himself to his feet, using Ranger's solid presence as an anchor. His shoulder was on fire. His right hand was completely numb. Blood dripped from a dozen cuts he didn't remember receiving. But he was alive. They were all alive. "The evidence," he said. "Where? I have it." Maya patted her jacket. "Never let it go." Cole looked at her, this woman, who'd been hanging from a gate an hour ago, who'd just shot a man to save his life, who was still standing despite everything the world had thrown at her. "You're tougher than you look, deputy. You have no idea." She moved toward the door, then stopped. Turned back. "What he said about my sister, lies, manipulation. That's all men like him know." "Maybe." Maya's voice was hollow. "But what if it wasn't?" Cole had no answer for that. Some truths were too heavy for words. They stepped into the storm. The snow had intensified, reducing visibility to mere feet. Cole took point, Ranger limping beside him, Maya close behind. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Away from here. That's all that matters right now." They pushed through the drifts, the cold seeping into their bones, the wind stealing their breath. Behind them, the mill disappeared into white nothing. But Cole knew it wasn't over. Beck was alive. Thornton was still out there. And somewhere in the darkness, more men were hunting them. Maya's phone. His phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, squinting at the screen through the snow. "It's Agent Cole," she breathed. She responded. "What does it say?" Maya's face transformed. Hope and fear warring for dominance. "Message received. Team mobilizing. ETA 12 hours. Stay alive." 12 hours. Cole looked at the storm, at Maya's exhausted face, at Ranger's labored breathing. 12 hours might as well be 12 years. "Then we stay alive," he said. "Whatever it takes." They disappeared into the white darkness, and somewhere behind them, Beck opened his eyes. The cold was killing them slowly. Cole knew the signs, the way Maya's words had started slurring 10 minutes ago, the way Ranger's legs trembled with each step, the way his own thoughts were becoming sluggish, disconnected, like trying to think through wet concrete. Hypothermia. Stage 1, maybe stage 2. They had an hour, possibly less, before their bodies started shutting down. "Cole," Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "I need to stop, just for a minute." "No stopping. Stopping is dying. I can't feel my feet." "Good. Means they're not hurting yet." He tightened his grip on her arm. "Keep moving. They'd been walking for 40 minutes, pushing through drifts that reached their thighs, fighting a wind that seemed personally determined to destroy them. The storm had erased all landmarks, all sense of direction. Cole was navigating by instinct alone, trusting the internal compass that had guided him through a dozen war zones. Ranger stopped suddenly. His ears pitched forward. His body went rigid. "What is it, boy?" The dog whined once, then changed direction, pulling toward the left. "Cole, what's he doing?" "Following something." Cole watched his partner carefully. In the field, Ranger's instincts had saved lives more times than he could count. Let him lead. They followed the dog through the white chaos. 5 minutes. 10. Maya stumbled twice, and Cole caught her both times. Then Ranger stopped again, this time in front of a dark shape that emerged from the snow like a ghost. A barn. Old, half-collapsed, but standing. More importantly, sheltered from the wind. "Thank God," Maya breathed. Cole approached cautiously, checking for tracks for signs of recent occupation. Nothing. The snow around the structure was pristine. "Inside, quick!" The barn door hung from one hinge. They squeezed through the gap into darkness that smelled of old hay and animal musk. Cole's flashlight revealed a space that had been abandoned for years. Rusted equipment, rotting bales, a loft that looked dangerously unstable, but it was dry and out of the wind. "Here." Cole guided Maya to a corner where hay bales formed a natural windbreak. "Sit. Conserve heat." She collapsed against the hay, her body shaking violently now that she'd stopped moving. Ranger immediately pressed himself against her side, sharing what warmth he had left. Cole began searching the barn. An old tarp, stiff with age but intact. A pile of burlap sacks. A rusted lantern with half an inch of oil still in the reservoir. He gathered everything, building a nest of insulation around Maya and Ranger. His fingers fumbled with matches. His left hand too cold, his right hand too damaged. But finally, a flame caught. The lantern flickered to life. Weak orange light pushed back the darkness. Not much warmth, but something. Enough. "Cole." Maya's teeth chattered so hard she could barely speak. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're not out of this." He sat beside her, pulling the tarp over all three of them, creating a pocket of shared body heat. Ranger shifted to lie across both their laps, his warmth precious beyond measure. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Maya said, "Tell me about Mosul." Cole's jaw tightened. "No." "Beck knew. He used it against you. That means it's a weapon they'll keep using." Her eyes found his in the lamplight. "I need to understand." "Why?" "Because we're probably going to die tonight, and I don't want to die next to a stranger." Cole stared at the flame. The shadows danced across his face, hiding and revealing in equal measure. 4 years ago, he said finally, we were hunting a high-value target. Bomb maker responsible for dozens of IEDs, hundreds of casualties. Intel said he was holed up in a compound outside Mosul. Your team, 5 of us. I was team leader. The words came harder now, dragged from somewhere deep. We breached at 0300. Everything went wrong immediately. The intel was bad or we'd been set up. There were 20 fighters waiting for us, not the 4 we expected. Maya didn't speak, just listened. We fought our way to the center of the compound. That's when I saw him, the bomb maker. He was running toward a vehicle. I had a clear shot. Cole's voice dropped. And I hesitated. Why? There was a child, a little girl maybe 6 years old. She was in the doorway behind him. If I missed, if the bullet went through. He shook his head. I couldn't take the shot. And in that second of hesitation, he reached the vehicle. He had a detonator. The silence stretched. The explosion killed 4 of my men. I survived because I was standing behind a concrete pillar. The girl survived too. I saw her running away after. Cole's laugh was bitter, broken. So I saved 1 life and lost 4. Great trade, right? You saved a child. I killed my brothers. No. Maya's hand found his in the darkness. The bomb maker killed them. The people who gave you bad intel killed them. You made a choice in an impossible moment, and you chose not to risk an innocent life. Her grip tightened. That's not weakness. That's humanity. Cole wanted to argue. He'd spent 4 years arguing with himself, building a case for his own guilt that no defense could penetrate. But something in Maya's voice, something in the simple pressure of her hand, made the words die in his throat. What about you? He asked instead. Elena, tell me about her. Maya's breath caught. She was my baby sister, 8 years younger. Our parents died when she was 12, and I became her guardian. A pause. I was 24, working my first patrol job, trying to figure out how to be a cop and a parent at the same time. What happened? I worked nights. Elena was supposed to stay home, do her homework, go to bed at 10. Maya's voice grew distant. But she was 16. 16-year-olds don't follow rules. She started sneaking out, going to parties. I didn't know until it was too late. Ranger whimpered softly, sensing her distress. One night she went to a party at a house outside town. Some older kids, she said. Cool kids. Maya's hand trembled in Cole's grip. She never came home. The police found her phone in a ditch 3 miles away. No other trace. No witnesses. Nothing. The trafficking network. I didn't know that then. Nobody did. She was just another runaway, according to the official report. Another troubled teen who'd probably turn up in a few weeks. The bitterness in her voice could have cut glass. She never turned up. And I spent the next 8 years trying to find out why. That's why you transferred here. You knew about Thornton. I suspected. Rumors mostly. Patterns that didn't make sense. Girls going missing along certain routes at certain times. Maya exhaled slowly. When I found Daniel's files, everything clicked. The network he documented, it's been operating for over a decade. Elena wasn't the first, and she wasn't the last. How many? Based on Daniel's records, at least 47 girls. Maybe more. The number hung in the air between them, heavy with horror. And Thornton's been running it the whole time? Thornton Beck, a few corrupt deputies, and some businessmen who handle the logistics. Maya's voice hardened. They've built an entire system. Fake transportation companies, shell corporations, contacts in 3 states. It's not just trafficking, it's an empire. Cole thought about the evidence box. The photographs, the ledgers, the Jeep's coordinates. Everything needed to bring that empire crashing down. When the FBI gets here, if the FBI gets here, Maya's realism cut through his optimism. Beck is still out there. Thornton has the whole county in his pocket, and we're 2 half-frozen people hiding in a barn. 3, Cole corrected. Ranger counts. As if hearing his name, the dog lifted his head and licked Maya's cheek. She almost smiled. Almost. How did you 2 end up together? She asked. He was my partner for 3 deployments. When I got discharged, he was supposed to be retired to a K-9 adoption program. Cole stroked Ranger's ears. I pulled every string I had to keep him. Spent my entire separation bonus on medical care training transport. He paused. He's the only one from my old life who didn't give up on me. He's a good boy. He's the best boy. Cole's voice cracked slightly on the words. He has nightmares too. Wakes up screaming just like me. Some nights we just sit together in the dark, neither of us able to sleep, both of us too broken to do anything but exist." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then, maybe that's not broken. Maybe that's just surviving together. Cole looked at her. At this woman who'd been through hell and was still fighting. Who'd lost everything and still had enough hope to comfort a stranger. "Yeah," he said softly. "Maybe it is." The wind howled outside, but inside their small pocket of warmth, something shifted. Not romance. They were too exhausted, too damaged, too focused on survival for that. But something. A connection. An understanding between two people who'd seen the worst of the world and chosen to keep going anyway. Ranger's head snapped up. His ears rotated, his body tensed. "What is it?" Maya whispered. Cole listened. At first, nothing. Then, distant, almost lost in the wind, the sound of engines. Multiple engines. Getting closer. They found us. Cole was on his feet, instantly, pain forgotten. Exhaustion shoved aside by the adrenaline flooding his system. "How?" Maya struggled to stand. "We left no trail. The snow should have. Doesn't matter how. They're here." Cole scanned the barn, his tactical mind already calculating options. "We need a defensive position. We have one gun. They'll have a dozen. Then we make that gun count." The engine sounds grew louder. Headlights appeared through the gaps in the barn walls, sweeping across the snow. "Up there." Cole pointed to the loft. "It's unstable, but it gives us high ground. Harder to rush." They climbed the rackety ladder, Ranger scrambling up behind them with difficulty. The loft groaned under their weight, but held. Cole positioned Maya behind a pile of old feed bags, giving her cover and a clear line of sight to the barn door below. "How many rounds do you have?" Maya checked the deputy's gun. 11. "Make them count. Don't fire until you have a certain shot." "What about you?" Cole looked around the loft. Found a pitchfork, rusted but solid. Found a coil of old rope. Found his own determination battered but unbroken. "I'll improvise." The vehicle stopped. Doors slammed. Voices called out in the darkness. "Spread out. Cover all exits. Dogs have something. They're close." Then Beck's voice somehow carrying clearly over the wind. "Brennan, I know you're in there." Cole didn't respond. "You hurt me pretty good back at the mill," Beck continued. "I respect that. Not many people get the drop on me." A pause. "But here's the thing, I've got 8 men out here. 8 guns. And you've got what, a crippled dog and a dying woman." Maya's hand tightened on the gun. "Here's my offer. Send out the woman and the evidence. You can walk away. Take your dog, disappear, pretend none of this ever happened." Beck laughed, a cold, empty sound. "We both know you're not the hero type, Brennan. You proved that in Mosul." Cole's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. "Or," Beck continued, "we come in there and take what we want. Either way, this ends tonight. Your choice." Silence stretched across the barn. Outside men moved into position surrounding the structure. Maya looked at Cole. Her eyes held a question. "Not a chance," he said quietly. "We fight. We'll die. Maybe. But we'll die standing." He met her gaze. "And I'm done running from fights." Something shifted in Maya's expression. The fear didn't disappear, but it moved aside, making room for something harder. Something that looked like resolve. "Then let's make it count," she said. Cole nodded once. Then he cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted, "Hey, Beck! You forgot something important. What's that? I wasn't alone in Mosul." Cole's voice carried through the barn. "I had my team, and I've got my team now." Ranger rose beside him. Hackles, raised teeth bared. Maya steadied the gun on the feed bags. "You want us?" Cole called. "Come and get us." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the barn door exploded inward. Men poured through the opening flashlights, cutting through the darkness, weapons raised. The first one looked up toward the loft and raised his rifle. Maya fired. The shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. He crashed into the man behind him, and both went down. Cole didn't wait. He kicked a rotted section of the loft floor, and the wood gave way, crashing down on 2 more attackers below. One screamed as a beam caught his leg. "Loft! They're in the loft!" Gunfire erupted. Bullets punched through the old wood, sending splinters flying. Cole grabbed Maya and pulled her down behind a support beam. "Stay low!" He grabbed the rope and swung across the loft, dropping behind a stack of moldy hay bales. A deputy appeared at the top of the ladder. Cole drove the pitchfork into his hand, and the man fell backward with a shriek. "Cole!" Maya's voice was sharp with warning. He spun. Another deputy had found a second ladder, was climbing fast. Ranger hit him from the side. The dog's jaws closed on the man's arm, and they both tumbled off the ladder, crashing onto the barn floor below. The deputy screamed. Ranger held on, growling, shaking, refusing to release. "Good boy," Cole shouted. "Ranger out! Out!" The dog released and scrambled back toward the ladder, limping badly now, but still moving. Maya fired again. Another attacker dropped. "How many left?" she called. "Too many." Cole's mind raced. They'd taken down 4, maybe 5. But Beck had said 8, and Beck himself was still out there. As if summoned by the thought, Beck's voice cut through the chaos. "Enough?" The gunfire stopped. Cole peered over the edge of the loft. Beck stood just inside the barn door, a teenage girl held in front of him, a gun pressed to her temple. Cole's blood froze. The girl was maybe 15, maybe 16. Brown hair, wide, terrified eyes. She wore a dirty dress, and no coat, her arms covered in bruises. "One of our recent acquisitions," Beck said calmly. "She was supposed to be transported tomorrow, but she'll work just as well as a bargaining chip. Let her go." Cole's voice was low, dangerous. "Come down from there, both of you. Drop your weapons." Beck smiled that empty smile. "Or I paint the walls with her brains." The girl whimpered. Tears streamed down her face. Maya's hand shook on the gun. She had a shot, not a great one, but a shot. Beck was partially behind the girl, but his head was visible. Cole saw her calculating, saw her finger tighten on the trigger. "Maya, don't. I can make it. If you miss, I won't miss." Beck laughed. "Go ahead, deputy. Take the shot. See what happens." The girl was sobbing now, her body shaking in Beck's grip. And Cole saw something else. Something that made his heart stop. The girl's eyes. Brown, terrified, desperate. Elena's eyes staring out of a photograph. "Maya," he said carefully. "Look at her." Maya looked, and he saw the moment recognition hit, not real recognition, because this wasn't Elena, couldn't be Elena. But the resemblance, the age, the situation, the girl Elena might have been in some other timeline where Maya had arrived sooner. Maya's hand dropped. "That's better." Beck gestured with the gun. "Now come down, slowly, and bring my evidence with you." Cole looked at Maya, at Ranger, at the girl crying in Beck's grip. No options left, no clever tactics, no way out. He started climbing down the ladder. "Cole, don't—" Maya grabbed his arm. "He'll kill us all anyway. He'll definitely kill her if we don't. We can't save everyone." Cole stopped, turned, met her eyes. "I know," he said. But we can save her. Right now. This one girl. He paused. Isn't that why we're here? Isn't that why you've been fighting for 8 years? Maya's face crumpled. The gun trembled in her hand. Sometimes saving one is enough, Cole said. Sometimes that has to be enough. He descended the ladder. Ranger followed, staying close to his partner's side. After a long moment, Maya climbed down too. They stood before Beck, defeated, exhausted, out of options. The girl sobbed in his grip. "The evidence," Beck said. "Now!" Maya reached into her jacket, pulled out the metal box, held it out with shaking hands. Beck smiled, and then the barn doors exploded behind him. Wood splintered, light flooded in. A voice, female, commanding, shouted through a bullhorn, "FBI, everyone on the ground, now!" Beck spun, dragging the girl with him. Cole didn't think. He moved. His shoulder hit Beck's arm, knocking the gun away from the girl's head. The weapon discharged wild, missing everything, and the girl broke free, running toward the lights outside. Beck and Cole went down together. They rolled across the barn floor, fighting for the gun. Cole's damaged hand was useless, but he got his good hand on Beck's wrist, keeping the weapon pointed away. "You should have taken my deal," Beck snarled. "Go to hell." Beck headbutted him. Stars exploded across Cole's vision. The gun came around. A shot rang out. Cole waited for the pain. It didn't come. Beck's eyes went wide. A red flower bloomed on his chest. He looked down at it with something like surprise. "Huh," he said, and collapsed. Maya stood behind him, the deputy's gun smoking in her hands. "I don't miss," she said. Cole stared at her, at Beck's body, at the FBI agents pouring through the ruined barn doors. Then he started laughing. It wasn't humor. It was release, pure, overwhelming, impossible release. The sound was broken and ragged and probably concerning, but he couldn't stop. Maya dropped the gun and fell to her knees beside him. "Is it over?" she asked. Cole looked at the agents securing the scene, at the girl being wrapped in a blanket, at Ranger, who had somehow found his way to his side and was licking his face. "Almost," he said. "One more piece." Thornton. Thornton. The sheriff was still out there, the head of the snake still attached. But for the first time since he'd found Maya hanging from that gate, Cole allowed himself to believe they might actually survive this. "Ma'am," an agent approached Maya. "Deputy Hartwell, I'm Agent Patricia Cole. We need to talk." Maya looked at Cole. Her Cole, not the agent. He nodded. "Go, I'll be here." She stood slowly, still trembling, still bleeding from a dozen small cuts. But she was alive. They all were. For now. Agent Patricia Cole was a woman who had seen everything and believed nothing until she saw it with her own eyes. She stood in the barn, surrounded by her team, processing the chaos with the calm efficiency of someone who had spent 30 years cleaning up other people's messes. Bodies on the ground, shell casings everywhere, a wounded SEAL, a battered deputy, and a German shepherd who refused to leave their side. "Deputy Hartwell," she said, her voice carrying the weight of federal authority. "I need you to tell me exactly what happened here, from the beginning." Maya started talking. Cole, her Cole the SEAL, sat against a hay bale while a medic examined his injuries. His shoulder was dislocated. 3 ribs cracked. Cuts and bruises covered every visible inch of skin. But he was watching, listening, processing. Something wasn't right. The FBI had arrived too fast. Maya's message had said 12 hours. It had been barely 4. How did you get here so quickly? He asked. Agent Cole glanced at him. We were already in the area, had a team positioned in Helena waiting for Deputy Hartwell's signal. Positioned for what? That's classified. Cole's gut tightened. In his experience, classified usually meant you're not going to like the answer. Maya finished her account. Agent Cole listened without interruption, her face revealing nothing. The evidence, she said finally. Where is it? Maya pulled the metal box from her jacket. Everything Daniel Crane collected. Names, dates, financial records, GPS coordinates of drop points. Agent Cole took the box, opened it, rifled through the contents with practiced hands. Her expression flickered, just for a second. But Cole caught it. Something was wrong. This is excellent work, Agent Cole said. Deputy Hartwell, you've done your country a great service. What about Thornton? Maya asked. He's still out there. Sheriff Thornton is being handled as we speak. We have teams moving on his location. I want to be there. That's not possible. You're a witness, not an agent. Your involvement in the arrest could compromise the prosecution. Maya's jaw tightened. He murdered Daniel Crane. He tried to murder me. He's been trafficking girls for over a decade. I deserve to see him in cuffs. What you deserve and what's legally appropriate are two different things. Agent Cole's voice was firm, but not unkind. Go to the hospital. Get checked out. Let us do our jobs. She turned and began issuing orders to her team. Cole watched her go. Then he leaned close to Maya. Something's off, he whispered. What do you mean? She's too calm, too controlled. We just handed her evidence that could bring down an entire trafficking network, and she barely reacted. Maya frowned. She's FBI. They're trained to be... I know what they're trained for. This is different. Cole's eyes tracked Agent Cole across the barn. And how did they know exactly where to find us? Your message didn't include our location. I sent the GPS coordinates. Did you... Maya's face went pale. She pulled out Cole's phone, scrolling back through her messages. I thought I did. She stopped, stared at the screen. The coordinates I sent. They're wrong. They're for the cabin, not the barn. So how did they find us? The question hung in the air between them. Ranger lifted his head. His ears rotated toward the barn door. That familiar growl started in his chest. Cole, Maya breathed. What if... A gunshot outside, then another, then screaming. Agent Cole spun toward the door. What the hell? The barn door exploded inward for the second time that night, but this time it wasn't FBI agents. Sheriff Wade Thornton stood in the doorway, flanked by 4 deputies. His silver hair was disheveled. His uniform was stained with blood, not his own. In his right hand, he held a shotgun. In his left, a detonator. Nobody move, he said, or this whole building goes up. Agent Cole reached for her weapon. Thornton raised the detonator. I've got enough C4 packed around this barn to leave a crater. You really want to test me, Patricia? Patricia. First name. Cole's blood ran cold. Agent Cole's hand slowly moved away from her gun. Wade, this isn't the play. You're surrounded. Federal agents, state police. There's no way out. There's always a way out. Thornton smiled a politician's smile, practiced and empty. You taught me that. Maya stared at Agent Cole. You know him? We've had dealings. Dealings. Thornton laughed. That's one word for it. How about partnership? How about mutual benefit? How about you've been taking a cut of my operation for the past 8 years? The words hit like physical blows. Maya's face went white. No. Oh, yes. Thornton stepped further into the barn. You think a trafficking network this size operates without federal protection? Who do you think buries the reports? Who do you think makes sure the wrong investigators get assigned to the right cases? Cole looked at Agent Cole, watched her face, watched the mask slip just slightly. He's lying, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Check her phone, Thornton said. Check her bank accounts. Check the house she bought in cash 3 years ago. His smile widened. Or better yet, ask her how she knew exactly where to find you tonight. The silence was devastating. Maya turned to Agent Cole. You tracked us. You used the message I sent to track us, not to save us, to find out where we were hiding. I saved your lives. You were going to let him kill us. Maya's voice cracked. You were going to let him destroy the evidence and bury us with it. I was going to handle the situation. Handle it how? Cole spoke for the first time. By making sure Thornton got to us first, by cleaning up his mess like you've been doing for 8 years. Agent Cole's composure finally broke. You don't understand. The network, it's bigger than Thornton. It's bigger than me. There are people involved that you can't imagine. Senators, judges, CEOs. If this evidence gets out, everything collapses. Good, Maya said. Let it collapse. You naive little fool. Agent Cole's voice turned cold. You think exposing this will help those girls? The system will protect itself. It always does. The evidence will disappear. Witnesses will recant. And everyone who tried to bring it down will end up dead or discredited. Like Daniel Crane. The question hung in the air. Agent Cole didn't answer. Didn't have to. You knew, Maya said. You knew what Thornton did to Daniel, and you covered it up. I did what was necessary. You let them kill a good man. I let them kill a man who was going to destroy everything. Agent Cole stepped forward, her mask completely gone now. Daniel Crane was a fool. He thought the truth mattered. He thought justice was real. He didn't understand that the only thing that matters is power, who has it, who controls it, who survives because of it. Cole listened, watched, calculated. Thornton and his 4 deputies. Agent Cole, and whatever loyalty her team still held. The C4 that may or may not be real. Maya wounded and exhausted. Ranger injured but still ready to fight. Bad odds. Worse than bad. But he'd faced worse odds before. Here's what's going to happen, Thornton said. Agent Cole is going to hand me that evidence box. Then she's going to order her team to stand down. Then we're all going to walk out of here and have a civilized conversation about the future. And us, Cole asked. You'll be coming with me. Insurance, you understand. Once I'm safely across the state line, I'll let you go. Thornton's smile turned cruel. Probably. And if we refuse, Thornton lifted the detonator. Then we all die together. I'm 63 years old, Brennan. I've lived a good life, made a lot of money, enjoyed a lot of power. If this is how it ends, he shrugged. I can live with that. Can you? Cole's mind raced. The detonator was probably real. A man like Thornton didn't bluff with his own life. The C4 could be anywhere, walls, floor support beams. One wrong move, and everyone in the barn became a memory. But there was something else. Something Thornton didn't know. During Agent Cole's confession, one of her team members had quietly slipped toward the back of the barn. Young, dark-haired, moving with the careful precision of someone who hadn't been corrupted yet. Cole caught his eye. The agent gave an almost imperceptible nod. One ally. One chance. All right, Cole said. You win. Maya spun toward him. Cole, no? He's got us, Maya. Look around. There's no play here. Cole raised his hand slowly. Thornton, take the evidence. Take us. Just let everyone else go." Thornton studied him. "The hero finally breaks. I knew you would. Your type always does." "I'm not a hero. I'm a survivor. There's a difference." "Finally some honesty." Thornton gestured to Agent Cole. "The box, now." Agent Cole hesitated. For just a moment, something flickered across her face. Doubt, maybe, or the last remnants of a conscience she'd buried years ago. Then she handed over the evidence. "Good girl." Thornton tucked the box under his arm. "Now your weapon." Agent Cole surrendered her gun. "And the rest of your team. Everyone disarms. Slowly." The FBI agents looked at their boss. She nodded once. Weapons clattered to the ground. "Excellent." Thornton turned to his deputies. "Secure the prisoners. We're—" The lights went out. Complete darkness. Someone had cut the generator. Cole was already moving. He tackled Maya to the ground as gunfire erupted above them. Muzzle flashes strobed through the darkness, chaotic, directionless, deadly. "Stay down!" he shouted. Ranger moved like a ghost, his black coat invisible in the darkness. Cole heard a scream, one of Thornton's deputies hit by 70 pounds of trained fury. "Find Thornton!" Agent Cole was shouting. "He has the detonator!" More gunfire. More screams. The darkness was absolute, turning the barn into a slaughterhouse of confusion. Cole crawled forward, following the sound of Thornton's voice. The sheriff was cursing, moving toward the door, still clutching the evidence box. Cole's hand found a fallen weapon. He couldn't tell whose it was. Didn't care. "Thornton!" The sheriff spun toward his voice. Cole fired. The muzzle flash illuminated Thornton's face for a split second, wide eyes, open mouth, the dawning realization that his empire was crashing down around him. The shot went wide. Cole's damaged hand had pulled the barrel right at the last moment. Thornton ran. Cole chased him into the storm. The cold hit him like a wall, stealing his breath, turning his sweat to ice. Thornton was a shadow against the snow, moving fast for a man his age, desperation giving him speed. "It's over, Thornton. There's nowhere to go." "There's always somewhere," Thornton's voice carried back through the wind. "I've got money in 6 countries, properties you've never heard of. A new identity waiting in Mexico." "And the girls you sold, what about them? They were nobodies, runaways, addicts. Nobody missed them." Cole's blood burned. Elena, Maya's baby sister, one of the nobodies. He ran harder. Thornton reached a snowmobile, one of the FBI vehicle's keys still in the ignition. He threw the evidence box onto the seat and climbed on. "Goodbye, Brennan." "Give my regards to—" Ranger hit him from the side. The dog came out of the darkness like a missile, 80 pounds of righteous fury aimed at the man who had caused so much suffering. His jaws closed on Thornton's arm, and they both tumbled off the snowmobile into the snow. Thornton screamed. The detonator flew from his hand. Cole dove for it. His fingers closed around the cold plastic. He rolled, came up on one knee, and pointed the gun at Thornton's head. The sheriff lay in the snow, Ranger standing over him, teeth bared, inches from his throat. "Call off your dog," Thornton shrieked. "Give me one reason." "I can give you names, everyone involved, every politician, every businessman, every cop, I know everything." Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. It would be so easy. One bullet, one moment, and the man who had caused so much pain would never hurt anyone again. Maya's voice in his head. "You saved a child. That's not weakness. That's humanity." His own voice answering, "I killed my brothers." And now a new voice. His own but different. "This isn't Mosul. This isn't hesitation. This is choice." He lowered the gun. "Ranger, out." The dog released Thornton's arm and stepped back, still growling, still ready. Cole stood over the fallen sheriff. "You're going to prison," he said. "You're going to spend the rest of your miserable life in a cell knowing that everyone you protected, everyone you paid off, everyone you thought was loyal, they're all going to turn on you. They're going to save themselves just like you tried to save yourself. And when you die alone and forgotten, nobody will mourn you. Nobody will remember you. You'll just be another monster who got what he deserved." Thornton stared up at him. The politician's smile was gone. The arrogance was gone. All that remained was a broken old man lying in the snow. "You should have killed me," he whispered. "No." Cole shook his head. "Killing you would be mercy. And you don't deserve mercy." FBI agents surrounded them, guns drawn. The young agent who had cut the power was among them, his weapon pointed at his own corrupt boss. "Wade Thornton," he announced. "You're under arrest." They hauled the sheriff to his feet. Cole watched them go. Then Maya was there, running through the snow, falling into his arms. She was crying ugly, gasping sobs that shook her entire body. "It's over," she kept saying. "It's really over." Cole held her, held Ranger, who had pressed himself against their legs, held himself together by sheer force of will. "Almost," he said quietly. "One more thing." He walked back to the snowmobile, picked up the evidence box that Thornton had dropped. Inside, Daniel Crane's files were intact. The photographs, the ledgers, the GPS coordinates, everything needed to bring down an empire. Cole looked at Agent Patricia Cole, now in handcuffs being loaded into a federal vehicle. "What happens to her?" Maya asked. "Same thing that happens to all of them. Trial. Prison. The end of everything they built." And the network, the senators, the judges, the CEOs she mentioned. Cole looked at the evidence box. Daniel Crane died for this. He knew he wouldn't survive, but he made sure the truth would. Cole closed the box. "We're going to make sure his death meant something." Maya nodded slowly. Her tears had stopped, replaced by something harder, something that looked like resolve. "For Daniel," she said. "For Daniel. For Elena. For all of them." The storm was finally beginning to fade. Through the thinning snow, Cole could see the first hints of dawn on the horizon. A new day coming. The first new day in a very long time. Ranger leaned against his leg, exhausted but steady. Maya stood beside him, battered but unbroken. 3 survivors standing together in the snow. And somewhere in the darkness, the ghosts of all those lost were finally at peace. 3 months changed everything. Cole stood at the window of the rebuilt cabin, watching the morning sun melt the last stubborn patches of snow from the valley floor. His right hand still tremored against the wooden frame, but the pain had dulled to something manageable. Something he could live with. Behind him, Ranger stretched on his new orthopedic bed, the one Maya had insisted on buying with her first paycheck as interim sheriff. The dog's hip still gave him trouble, but the limp was less pronounced now. The nightmares came less often. Some nights he even slept through until dawn. Some nights, so did Cole. "You're brooding again?" Maya's voice came from the kitchen doorway. She wore civilian clothes, jeans, a flannel shirt, her hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. The bruises on her face had faded to nothing. The ones on her soul were taking longer. "I'm not brooding. I'm contemplating." "Same thing, different syllables." She crossed the room and stood beside him. "What are you contemplating? How different this place looks in the sun." It was true. The cabin that had seemed cursed when he first arrived now felt almost peaceful. New windows, new roof, fresh paint on the walls. The bullet holes had been patched, the bloodstains scrubbed away. But some things couldn't be erased so easily. The federal prosecutor called again, Maya said. What did she want? Your testimony. Thornton's trial starts in 2 weeks. They want you on the stand. Cole's jaw tightened. He'd given statements, depositions, hours of recorded interviews. The thought of facing Thornton again, even in a courtroom, made something cold twist in his gut. I'll be there. You don't have to be. Yeah, I do. He turned to face her. Daniel Crane died trying to expose this. The least I can do is look Thornton in the eye when they convict him. Maya nodded slowly. She understood. She was carrying the same weight. There's something else, she said. Something I need to show you. Her voice had changed. Softer. More fragile. What is it? She pulled an envelope from her pocket. Official letterhead. FBI seal. They found Elena. Cole's breath caught. Maya's hands trembled as she held the envelope. The investigation, when they started dismantling Thornton's network, they found records. Detailed records. Every girl who passed through his operation for the past 12 years. Maya, Elena was one of the first. He was telling the truth about that. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't survive Cole. She died within months of being taken. They found where she was buried. Cole reached for her. She collapsed against his chest, her body shaking with sobs she'd held back for 8 years. I'm sorry, he whispered. God, Maya, I'm so sorry. I knew, she gasped. Part of me always knew, but I kept hoping, kept believing that maybe somehow hope isn't weakness. It felt like weakness. All those years of searching, all those dead ends, and she was gone the whole time. Cole held her tighter. He thought of his own ghosts. 4 men in 4 coffins' faces that haunted his dreams. The hoping kept you going, he said. The hoping made you become a cop, made you transfer here, made you find Daniel's evidence. If you'd given up hope, none of this would have happened. Thornton would still be running his operation. More girls would have died. Maya pulled back her eyes, red and swollen. You really believe that? I know it. Elena's death was a tragedy. But everything you did because of it, everything you sacrificed, everything you risked that saved lives, that matters. It doesn't bring her back. No, nothing will. Cole cupped her face in his hands. But we can make sure she's remembered. We can make sure her story means something. Maya closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had shifted. The grief was still there, but alongside it was resolution. I want to bury her properly, she said. Here in the valley, where I can visit her. Then we'll make that happen. And I want to build something in her name, something that helps other girls, other families. What kind of something? Maya looked around the cabin. At the new walls, the fresh paint, the warmth that had replaced the darkness. A shelter, she said. A place where trafficking survivors can come to heal, where they can feel safe. She paused. Daniel called this place his promise. Maybe it can be Elena's promise too. Cole looked at her, this woman who had lost everything and still found reasons to give. I think Daniel would have liked that, he said. I think so too. They stood together in the morning light, 2 broken people holding each other up. And for the first time in a very long time, the future felt like something worth believing in. The trial began on a Tuesday. The federal courthouse was packed, reporters, families of victims, curious citizens who wanted to see the monster behind the mask. Cole sat in the front row, Maya beside him. Ranger lying at their feet with a service dog vest that granted him access anywhere his partner needed to go. Thornton entered in handcuffs. He looked smaller than Cole remembered. Grayer. The 3 months in federal custody had stripped away the arrogance, the power the politicians polish. What remained was just a tired old man facing the consequences of a lifetime of evil. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Thornton looked away first. "Good," Maya whispered. "Let him be afraid." The prosecution's case was devastating. Document after document, witness after witness. The evidence Daniel Crane had gathered, preserved by Cole and Maya, formed the backbone of the indictment. Financial records showed millions of dollars flowing through shell companies. GPS logs traced the routes used to transport victims. Photographs placed Thornton at meetings with traffickers, buyers, corrupt officials. But the most powerful testimony came from the survivors. One by one, women took the stand. Young women, old women, women who had escaped, and women who had been rescued. They spoke in voices that trembled, but never broke, telling stories of horror and survival that left the courtroom in stunned silence. The girl from the barn, her name was Sophie. They learned testified on the third day. She was 17, a runaway from Idaho, who had been grabbed at a bus station and sold 3 times before Beck got his hands on her. "I thought I was going to die that night," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "When that man put the gun to my head, I was sure it was over." "What happened next?" the prosecutor asked. Sophie looked at Cole. Her eyes were bright with tears. "He saved me, the man with the dog. He saved all of us." After she stepped down, Sophie walked to where Cole sat and threw her arms around him. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not leaving me." Cole couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. He just held her until she was ready to let go. Maya took the stand on the 4th day. She told her story from the beginning. Elena's disappearance, the years of searching the transfer to Timber Falls, the discovery of Daniel's files. She described the night Thornton's men grabbed her, the beating, the hanging, the moment she woke up in Cole's arms. "Deputy Hartwell," the prosecutor said, "can you identify the man who ordered your attempted murder?" Maya looked at Thornton. "Yes," she said. "Wade Thornton. Sitting right there." Thornton didn't meet her eyes. "And can you tell the court what happened to your sister Elena Hartwell?" Maya's voice finally cracked. "She was taken by his network when she was 16 years old. She died in their custody. Her body was buried in an unmarked grave for 8 years." The tears came, but she didn't stop. "She was my baby sister. She was smart and funny and kind. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She loved animals. She loved life. And they took all of that from her." The courtroom was silent. "What would you like to say to the defendant?" the prosecutor asked. Maya turned to face Thornton directly. "You destroyed my family. You destroyed Daniel Crane's family. You destroyed hundreds of families, and you did it for money, for power, for control." Her voice hardened. "But you failed. You failed because Daniel was braver than you. You failed because Elena's memory was stronger than your network. You failed because there are still good people in this world who refuse to look away from evil." She leaned forward. "I hope you spend every remaining day of your miserable life remembering their faces. I hope you hear their voices in your dreams. And I hope you die knowing that everything you built is gone, and all that's left is the truth you tried so hard to bury." Thornton finally looked at her. His face was empty, broken. Maya turned away and walked back to her seat. Cole took her hand and held it tight. The verdict came on a Friday. Guilty on all counts. Human trafficking, conspiracy, murder, corruption. The judge's voice echoed through the courtroom as he read each charge, each conviction. When it was over, Thornton was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole. He would die in prison. As the marshals led him away, Thornton paused at the door. He looked back at Cole and Maya one last time. "This isn't justice," he said. "This is revenge." Cole stood. "No," he said. "Justice is what happens in courtrooms. Revenge is what would have happened if I'd pulled the trigger in that snowfield." He stepped closer. "I chose justice, and I'd make the same choice again." When Thornton had no response, the marshals pulled him through the door, and he was gone. Maya exhaled slowly. "It's over." "The trial is over," Cole said. "But there's still work to do." She looked at him. "What do you mean?" "The network Thornton built it didn't disappear when he was arrested. There are still people out there, still operations running, still girls being taken." Cole's jaw tightened. Agent Patricia Cole wasn't the only one on Thornton's payroll. The investigation is still ongoing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we have a choice. We can walk away, let the FBI handle it, go back to our lives." He paused. "Or we can keep fighting." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "You'd do that?" she asked. "After everything you've been through? I spent 4 years running from the fight, hiding from my guilt, punishing myself for things I couldn't change." Cole looked at Ranger, who was watching them both with intelligent, patient eyes. "That night at the cabin when I found you hanging from that gate, something changed. I stopped running. I started fighting again. And now I want to keep fighting, not because I have to, because I choose to." He met her eyes. "But I can't do it alone." Maya looked at the courtroom doors, at the reporters waiting outside, at the families of victims who were hugging each other, crying, finally finding closure. "Elena's promise," she said softly. "What? The shelter we talked about. The place for survivors." Maya turned back to him. "It should be more than a shelter. It should be a mission. A way to help girls before they become victims. A way to find them when they're taken. A way to bring down the people who hurt them." Cole felt something shift in his chest. Something that felt like hope. "That's a big mission." "Then it'll take time. Years, maybe." Maya's eyes held his. "But we have time, don't we? We have each other. We have Ranger." She smiled the first real smile he'd seen from her since this nightmare began. What else do we need? Cole thought about the question. What else did he need? For 4 years, the answer had been nothing. He'd convinced himself that he deserved nothing, that wanting anything was a betrayal of the men he'd lost. But standing here in this courtroom with this woman and this dog who had fought beside him through the worst night of his life, he realized the answer had changed. "Nothing," he said. "We have everything we need." They walked out of the courthouse together. The sun was bright. The air was warm. Reporters shouted questions they didn't answer. At the bottom of the steps, a group of people was waiting. Sophie was there with her mother, reunited after 2 years of separation. An elderly couple who had lost their granddaughter but found peace in knowing her killer was behind bars. A young FBI agent who had helped bring down his own corrupt boss and was now leading the ongoing investigation. And in the back of the group, standing alone, was a man in a Marine uniform. Tall, strong, mid-40s, with close-cropped gray hair and the bearing of someone who had served his country with honor. He stepped forward as Cole approached. "Mr. Brennan," he said, "I'm Colonel James Hartley. I served with your father in Desert Storm." Cole's breath caught. "You knew my father. He saved my life. Took a bullet that was meant for me." The colonel extended his hand. "I've been following your case. What you did saving Deputy Hartwell, exposing Thornton, protecting that girl in the barn, your father would have been proud." Cole shook his hand. His voice wouldn't come. I know what it's like to carry survivor's guilt, the colonel continued. I carried it for years after your father died. But I learned something important. The best way to honor the dead is to help the living. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. This is a grant from the Hartley Foundation. It's not much, $50,000, but it should help get your shelter started. He pressed the envelope into Cole's hand. Elena's Promise. I like that name. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Cole looked at the envelope, at Maya, at Ranger, at the group of survivors and supporters who had gathered to see justice done. Thank you, he managed. Thank you, Colonel. Don't thank me. Keep fighting. That's all any of us can do. The colonel saluted once, then turned and walked away. Cole stood there holding the envelope, feeling the weight of everything it represented. A second chance, a new purpose, a way forward. Maya slipped her hand into his. You ready? She asked. Ready for what? Everything. The shelter, the mission, the fight. She squeezed his hand. Life. Cole looked at her. At Ranger, who was wagging his tail for the first time in months. At the sun breaking through the clouds. Yeah, he said. I think I am. They walked toward the parking lot, where Cole's old F-150 sat waiting. He'd thought about selling it, buying something newer, something that didn't remind him of those desperate nights in rest stop parking lots. But in the end, he'd kept it. The truck was part of his story, just like the scars on his body and the tremor in his hand. You couldn't outrun your past. You could only learn to carry it. He opened the passenger door for Maya, then lifted Ranger into the back seat. The dog settled immediately, his head resting on his paws, his eyes already closing. Where to? Maya asked as Cole climbed behind the wheel. He thought about it. The cabin was waiting. The valley was waiting. The future uncertain, challenging, full of battles yet to be fought was waiting. But for right now, in this moment, there was only one place he wanted to be. Home, he said. Maya smiled. Home it is. The truck rumbled to life. Cole pulled out of the parking lot and onto the open road. Behind them, the courthouse grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Ahead of them, the mountains rose toward a sky that was impossibly blue. And somewhere in a valley that had once been cursed, a cabin stood ready to become something new, something healing, something that would honor the dead by saving the living. Daniel Crane's promise, Elena's promise, Cole Brennan's promise, a promise kept. Sometimes God doesn't send angels with wings. He sends them with 4 legs and a heartbeat. He sends them with scars and trembling hands. He sends them through strangers who refuse to look away when evil shows its face. If you're watching this right now, wherever you are, whatever storm you're weathering, remember this: you are not alone. Help is coming. And the darkness, no matter how deep, no matter how long, will always, always give way to the light. May God bless you. May He heal your wounds. May He guide your steps through every storm. And may His angels walk beside you just as they walked beside Cole, Maya, and Ranger on that long winter night when 3 broken souls found each other and found the strength to fight. This is not just a story. This is a promise. And promises once made are never truly broken.